End of year test. Listening. Task 2. Listen to a student called Hannah talking about a class project about plastic. Complete the sentences 9 to 15 with a word or short phrase.
Hi, I'm Hannah and I want to tell you about a project we've been doing at school on plastic. In science classes, we've been studying a topic I've always wanted to know more about: the impact of pollution on animals and the environment. Something I hadn't realised was how much damage to the environment is caused by plastic. So, I was pleased when our science teacher set us a challenge. As a class, we had to cut down the plastic we use as close as possible to zero in 4 weeks. As part of this challenge, we made a record of whenever we used a plastic object, like a bag or bottle, and then calculated how many we'd all used. I'd say it was an eye-opener for me to discover how much plastic I was using. In the first week, I'd used 8 bags and 3 water bottles. As a class, we'd used over 30 plastic bags and bottles, which I thought was incredible, so there was definitely room for improvement. I set about reducing my own personal use of plastic. I made up my mind to always have a small, reusable cloth bag with me in my rucksack. Unfortunately, if I went clothes shopping, it wasn't enough. My extra bag was fine for small things like t-shirts or even jeans, but when I bought a coat, the shop assistant had to put it in an enormous plastic bag as it wouldn't fit in my own bag. I was so upset. I then decided to only use things made of plastic that had been reused. So, I bought a so-called eco mug for coffee from a stall in the street, and some clothes which were advertised on posters as being made from recycled plastic. I checked the information on the labels, but I was very disappointed that they weren't clear about how much recycled plastic the products actually contained, so I couldn't trust them. I realised I was taking a risk, but I bought them anyway. When I got home, I looked them up online. Unfortunately, the sweater and t-shirt contained new plastic. Surprisingly, so did the mug, but I was thrilled when I found that the socks were completely recycled. I then carried out my own research into where plastic actually comes from and found out that it's mainly made from chemicals from oil, coal and gas. My most worrying discovery was that, at some point, loads of it ends up in our oceans. I knew that cans and bottles popped up everywhere, but hadn't predicted the distance they could travel. It was unbelievable that fast food packaging from the UK, Canada and the US was washed up almost 10,000 miles away on beaches in South Africa and Australia. During our class project, we discovered that although people are more aware of the danger plastic poses to the natural world, and in the last decade or so have been recycling about 20%, the question is whether this is enough. Some people are enthusiastic about what's already being done, but in my view, it's too little. Billions of tonnes are still used to make products that are thrown away every day. We ought to be using more recycled plastic to make things like garden furniture. It made me laugh, though, to discover that it's being used for bins for people to put rubbish that can be recycled in. All my experiences and research tell me that it's clear that to protect the environment, we mustn't see all this plastic as rubbish, but as a resource that can be used to produce something else. We managed to finish the class challenge, though didn't quite achieve zero use of plastic. That's still something to aim for.